Well, good afternoon. Okay, so let's talk about not having a proper job. So, being at home a lot, in terms of how my day's set up. Of course, at the moment, my wife is on maternity leave. So, I have plenty of opportunity to spend time with my wife and also stare at my handsome son, Sumi. So, of course, we get the opportunity sometimes to watch a bit of daytime TV. So yesterday, flicking through the channels, we came across This Morning, the staple for the British housewife, which I don't know if housewives actually exist anymore. So we're watching This Morning, and they had a section, they know their audience, they had a section on with this doctor. So it wasn't Hilary Jones, it was that other guy, the old guy who's the TV doctor. And they were talking about painkillers. Now, one of the statistics they talked about was basically 1 in 20 people in the UK take 6 or more painkillers a day. 1 in 20. So, if we think about that, let's say there's 70 million people in the UK. I've dug myself into a hole here. So, let's say there's 70 million divided by 0.20. So 70 million times 0.20. That means roughly 14 million people, if my maths serves me correctly. So 14 million people, is that right? No. That's it, times 0.20. Sorry, 1.4 million people. So over 1 million people every day are taking 6 or more painkillers. Now, whilst stuff happens, and it happens to us all, and people get hurt and injured and ill and all that, I would assume that the bulk of a lot of those people, it's because of some sort of neglect, okay? Or maybe even worse case, some sort of addiction. So it does throw into sort of focus two things really. Number one is the ease of taking things like that. Again, shit happens to all of us. And the second side of it is whatever you don't use, you lose. Now, I've met people who have been my age, and I'm 42 in 4 days' time, that have looked like they're in their 80s, and it's because of poor lifestyle choices. I'm not talking about anybody here who, we are fragile creatures, illness happens to all of us. I'm talking about poor lifestyle choices that lead us to be in pain, which is joint pains, which are things like that can be caused by inactivity, lack of strength, a high inflammatory diet, poor diet, lack of activity. These things can be prevented. And when you hear statistics like that there's that many people dependent on these things, you think, that's a problem for me. And whilst we've got to be very, very careful, I think, in the modern world that we show empathy and we help people, but we also don't allow people just to become victims, because it's too easy sometimes to do that rather than actually sort yourself out. So what you need to remember is that the ability to be a functioning human being isn't complicated. It's not easy, but it's not complicated, and a lot of it revolves around small decisions that you make every day around slightly increased activity levels, be that walking, swimming, if you're able to, sort of stationary bike, that sort of thing. And then just making sure that you have a system in place for ensuring you don't overeat, or you don't eat too much junk or toxins. Not 100% of the time, nobody's perfect, no one's an angel. But if you're in pain, you've got to look at your baseline activity, your activity across the board in terms of your walking, in terms of your baseline activity. And then you've got to look at the fundamentals of the eating plan that you are following. And if you're eating a lot of junk and a lot of toxic food, then that's a problem, and I think that's obvious and not always easy to implement. I don't think anybody should be in pain, and then especially when they've got the resources to change it, because I think more people can change the situation than is made out. There are genuinely some people, bad stuff happens, pop a shoulder, I've done it myself, nearly popped a hamstring running, these things happen. But most of us, it's our choices that we make. And sometimes we don't see where the daily choices we make in our 20s and our 30s and our 40s could lead us. If I was still in the state I was in when I was 28, you know what I mean, I'd probably be struggling now a little bit more. So get help, find out ways in which you can become more active, where you can become more physically and mentally engaged. Not easy, and certainly, it's quite a big effort. And I'll talk about a woman I saw running this morning that sort of put it into perspective. Sometimes you just need to keep going, because those small daily decisions could stop you from being dependent on painkillers, being in pain. And sometimes you just need to make those little decisions, achieve those little wins. And if you need help, ask. Yeah, because there are people who can help. If you're a woman over the age of 40 and you want to join our program, our group fitness program for women over the age of 40, click the link above, click the link below, get your free trial in. If you need some help from me, feel free to get in touch via the page or via my profile. And again, if you feel that anybody would benefit from this video, feel free to drop a like or a share down below. I'd appreciate it, or a comment about your thoughts on that statistic I just mentioned. So 1 in 20 people take more than 6 painkillers, 6 or more painkillers a day. It's scary stuff. And I think in a lot of cases could be prevented with the right choices and the right help. That's it. Have a good day.